Alright gang, so the Fuxuan looking pretty good, pretty fresh, but with the release of Blade and Kafka and literal DPS god in Lune, who basically destroyed everybody else in damage, it kind of begs the question, my guys. Is Fu Xuan gonna power creep the defensive support category and dethrone our lord and savior, Luocha? Hi, I'm Lace. Let's talk about Fu Xuan, how she compares against the Luocha. The one thing that I think is really holding her back, monoquantum team, whether she's actually worth pulling or not, and all of the other good stuff. And so to get started, I wanted to quickly cover the solo sustainer's definition of success. Now, I know this seems really freaking simple, just being able to keep the team alive long enough to complete the content, but it's really freaking important because a lot of people look past your March and your Fire Trailblazer. They underrate your Natasha because they're like, oh my god, they can't solo sustain in everything. Okay, kind of fair, but they can solo sustain in some things. March and Fire Trailblazer can definitely solo sustain in a single target boss environment like the Ape. Next we've got Japad, and he is kind of like a better March and Fire Trailblazer. He can sustain everyone via shields, but the main weakness of his shields is that in a speed meta, they run out really fast. For the healers, all they have to do is make sure they heal enough, which is pretty simple. However, for Fu Xuan, her criteria is a little bit different because she reduces incoming damage, redirects some of it to herself, and then heals herself massively, but only heals everyone else slightly. We'll talk more about this a little bit later, but this archetype has its own weakness as well. And so today we're going to be discussing mainly in the context of endgame content, so your Memory of Chaos, as well as Swarm Disaster 5. For general purpose casual gaming, Fu Xuan of course is way more than adequate. Alright, and so to quickly cover them off, we're going to be looking at the solo sustain meta. I know that there are some people out there who are taking like 3 offensive supports and 1 carry and 0 turning that bitch. I don't think that's the majority. And on the other hand, we've got the Swarm Disaster difficulty 5. This thing has been absolutely crazy. There's a lot of brilliant strategies. Some of them are centered around killing them before they kill you. Others are turtling, which Fu Xuan is definitely going to help with. But my guys, before I go on, I need to remind you that people have used really scuffed looking teams to clear endgame content, such as this guy right here, abusing Remembrance, abusing the freezes and dissociation. It just really goes to show, my guys, waifu over meta. If you like a character, you pull for them. And so with all of that out of the way, let's come back and talk about Fu Xuan versus Luocha, because Luocha is currently hailed as the king of solo sustain. And most people in the game would go as far as to say that this guy is the most important character in the game. Therefore, I think most of us would agree that if Fu Xuan can beat Luocha, then she beats everyone else. And so to kick things off, I wanted to do a quick comparison between the two. I'm just going to quickly run through Luocha's ones because most of us know him. He's known for the cleanse, the auto heal, buff strip and dispel. However, I think the best parts about him is that he is super SP positive. It's very unlikely you will actually use his skill. And he has a chonky 70% CC resistance. And so from here, I want to compare him with the Fu Xuan, starting with this CC resistance over here. Now, Fu Xuan does have a CC resist, however, it does cost SP. And that is not exactly what we want. The good thing about it is that it is on demand, and so if you do see something big coming, you can block it, which is really nice. It makes it for like a reactive play. However, if she does get CC'd, and when she drops below 50% HP, you know that flipperoni thing where she kind of does a somersault and she heals herself really big? She's not going to actually do that if she's frozen or CC'd or charmed or whatever. And if she doesn't do that, then she's just gonna die. On the other hand though, in the statistically low chance that your boy Luocha gets CC'd, he still works because he won't auto heal, but he still has the field up. And that's fantastic because the healing is gonna keep coming even if he is cucked, or hopefully the rest of his team is not cucked. Fu Xuan, on the other hand, will still do the damage mitigation and the damage redirection, but she risks dying and there's kind of like nothing you can do about it. The next thing I wanted to compare is the attack scaling from Luocha versus the HP scaling with your Fu Xuan. What I have found is that the attack scaling making Luocha squishier because he doesn't get to stack HP it's not that big of a problem. But in terms of like chunkiness and tankiness, Fu Xuan definitely does win because she does get to stack HP, but on top of that, she's preservation. And being preservation means that you can take the Landau's Choice Lycaon or Japard's Signature. To be honest, I think that is actually going to be the solution to some of her weaknesses, but more on that later. Something that Fu Xuan doesn't have is a cleanse. And honestly, especially in late game, cleanse is so freaking important because of all of the freezes, all of the charms, all of the dominations by Kafka. And the other thing is that her heal can be insufficient. We're gonna do a couple of calculations a little bit later on, but it's kind of like this. She redirects partially the damage that is incoming to her team to herself. However, that means that her teammates are actually still getting chipped down. And so Fu Xuan's definition of success for making it through the rounds is that she needs to be able to top up enough so that they will survive to be able to kill the other team without being chipped down too low. From what I've seen, the heal is actually kind of insufficient. However, we can kind of also work around it. Now, there are two awesome things about Fu Xuan, and the first is the crit rate buff. That is honestly fantastic because if you can kill them faster than they can kill you, then I mean, that's part of the strat, right? But the other thing is enables mono quantum. This isn't actually that big of an advantage of Fu Xuan, but we'll talk about that a little bit later because I want to quickly again talk about this heal can be insufficient. So the self-sustain for your Fuxuan. So let's say that she has 6,000 HP. That's quite normal for somebody who's stacking like HP body, ERR rope probably, and a whole bunch of HP substats. The information that I've seen is that its scaling is only at 5% plus some small flat amount. So let's take that 6,000, 5% of that is 300. And for example, the flat amount is let's say 200. Therefore, it only heals 500, which is kind of trash. And this thing, remember, it activates on ultimate. And so what that means is that you have to run the ERR rope if you want to sustain everybody else. You can run the HP. However, it's going to be long ass rotations because generally she is going to take 4 turns, I believe, like basic skill. So that's 4 of them. She's going to need all of that to trigger her ultimate, to trigger a 500 HP heal on the rest of her allies. Now, again, that sounds kind of trash because normal characters generally have about 3.5 to 4k HP, and enemies, generally speaking, are doing a lot more damage than just 500 times 3, let's say 1,500. However, my guys, it is not all doomed because I think that the answer to this problem is actually the Landau's Choice as well as Japard's, because both of those light cones give you extra aggro on the Fu Xuan. And so by getting the enemies hitting her more often, she gets more energy regen so that she has better rotation on this. But also the damage that is being inflicted on the allies is also less. And we know that she can heal big on herself, so she can take care of herself. However, it's when the allies take a crap ton of damage, that's where I'm worried. So I know that she has this damage redirection kind of pro, but really, unless her heal is better than this, which I'm not sure it is, it's kind of not enough. And I would strongly recommend running aggro on your girl. And so with all of that said, let's talk about how she is going to fare in Memory of Chaos and Swarm Disaster. And so in the context of MOC, I do think that she is going to be a great solo sustainer, provided you can kill them before they kill you. I really do think that the aggro light cones are truly the answer. And if you do get that going, plus her crit rate buff that she gets from her E, she's going to be so freaking good because hopefully you'll be able to clear these floors faster. However, if your damage is kind of like not that great and you're taking too long to finish the MOC stage, then you are going to feel yourself getting chipped away, and eventually dying. On the other hand, Swarm Disaster difficulty 5. Now, Fu Xuan does quite well in this mode, considering you can actually just run the abundance strat. You can just straight up plug her weakness. And if you are wondering, if you do run like the turtle strat with all the destruction, preservation, abundance, kind of those blessings, and then you do use the redirection on like the big attack from the big fly guy, she'll actually take it like a champ and survive it, which is fantastic. However, if you are running Abundance Path and doing the whole turtling strategy, then you're really going to be looking for the dewdrops, which is dependent on healing. And so in that case, why don't you just take a healer? Okay, let's talk about Mono Quantum. is it really worth the hype? And so for mono quantum, we're saying we want 4 quantums, right? It's definitely Silver Wolf for 1. We can take Fu Xuan for number 2, Lynx number 3, and Zilla for number 4, or your QQ as number 4. However, the fact of the matter is that we could actually not take Fu Xuan and take Zilla and have QQ just run as a sub DPS. This definitely works, and the release of Lynx with Fu Xuan, in my opinion, it really diminishes Fu Xuan's like must roll for the mono quantum. Like imagine if Lynx came out like maybe like 3-4 months later, then Fu Xuan is, you have to roll. You have to roll if you want to run the mono quantum team, right? But yeah, the fact of the matter is that Lynx is actually a fantastic solo sustainer. Okay, so that's mono quantum, but what about, is mono quantum worth the hype? Now, to really talk about that, I have this guy over here. This is the current MOC 10, and like sure, you could run the Zilla, Silver Wolf into like the Fu Xuan as well as the QQ as sub DPS, or you could run like Lynx over here like that. Or again, you could run QQ as the sub DPS and not roll for Fu Xuan. However, let me put it this way. You could also run Hela for this one here. You could also run March if it's a single target boss. You could also run Natasha. You could run like your boy Japad over here, and this would still work 100% of the time. Like the point is, I don't think stuffing 4 extremely good characters into a team for your MOC, this is context for MOC by the way, in open world you can run mono quantum wherever you want. But for MOC specifically, like your Fu Xuan is fantastic. Why not use her for the team too like that? And then you can run like your Imbibita Lune or your Blade over here, Bronya, Yukong, like that. It's kind of like, if you're gonna full invest 100% into the first team, what are you gonna do for your second? Yeah, sure. If you also have Luocha, then you can like take your part away, put Fu Xuan in, Luocha in, and this would definitely work as well. And so the other place where we could potentially consider meta for is your Swarm Disaster. And this bug boy, he's already quantum weak. So it's kind of like from a meta point of view, there's not really a reason to pull her just to do that. And so that's going to take me to, well, should you pull her? If you're going to pull her for a meta mono quantum point of view, I would say maybe, because again, you can definitely get away with Lynx. If you want to run mono quantum for fun, be my guest. It looks like a lot of fun. Now, on the other hand, what if you already have Luocha and Japad? It's honestly a pretty hard sell, because both Japad and Luocha are more than enough to clear not only MOC, but also your Swarm Disaster 5 as well. On the other hand, what if you only had Luocha? Then I would certainly consider her, especially if you don't have like the Bailu or like the Japad. I would say that like running something like this, Fu Xuan Team 1, Luocha Team 2 always, it would definitely make your MOC 30 out of 30 a lot easier to get every single time. Okay, in that case, should you pull her for her design, for her aesthetic? Absolutely. Should you pull her for her open back? Absolutely. And the most important one is, should you pull her if you don't have Luocha? The answer is yes. I'm gonna say this. Fu Xuan is not bad. She is actually pretty freaking good. It's just that when you compare her to a literal god, how do you win? So no, I don't think that she is going to be better than Luocha. But in that regard, I think it's extremely hard to power creep this guy right here. Similar to how I also think that it's really freaking hard to power creep Danheng Imbibita Lune. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that Imbibita Lune is the best character ever. I think it's actually Blade, but we can save that for another video. But back to it, to answer the original question, Luocha versus Fu Xuan. Fu Xuan is fantastic, she's great, like a 9 out of 10, but Luocha is just a 10 out of 10, and it's just so incredibly hard to beat his kit. Remember, roll for Waifu. I gotta say, Fu Xuan, I didn't like her very much at the beginning, but after seeing her for a bit, I actually like her now. And that, my guys, is when you should roll. That said, enough about me. I want to know about you. Are you going to be pulling for the Fuxuan right here? Or are you going to save up for somebody else? Because we've got freaking Topaz and Jingliu right around the freaking corner. Either way, let us know down in the comments below. But that said, it's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.